When I think back about a teacher that really made a difference in my life, I choose one that's probably the most obvious, and it was my first teacher, my mother. My mother taught me to be curious. She wanted me to explore things to the point where other mothers would sit on the park bench and watch their kids play. My mother would bring over a bottle of water or a cup of water that she carried from our apartment or house, and she would make mud with me and sit down and make mud with me. She wanted me to experiment in the world and find out things. She also was dedicated to a good sense of humor. When we had no money, when the three kids, we were growing up, there was no money for vacations, or we barely had money for food. She still had this incredible sense of humor. And she was on her deathbed, literally. She would be dead within hours. And she beckoned me to come closer. And you never knew what to expect from her. I thought it was going to be the heartfelt goodbye. And she put her hand on my head and she said, "Ricky, did I ever tell you about the two bald men who put their heads together to make an ass of themselves?" But she was also intense. She taught young children in Sunday school for many years. And one of them said to her once, "Mrs. Meyer, how do we know there's a God?" And I was observing this. My mother wanted, because I was in pre-teacher ed, and my mother brought me to class to show why she wanted to show me how she taught. And so this little girl said, "Mrs. Meyer, is there a God? How do we know?" And my mother took her hand and she blew on the little girl's hand. And she said to the little girl, "Could you see that?" And she said, "No." "Then how did you know it happened?" The little girl said, "I could feel it." And my mother said, "That's how we know there's a God. You can feel it." And finally, I would add, she would sing. My mother had the worst voice ever. Neighbors would close their windows, but she taught me the joy of singing. And I only know 3 guitar chords. And when I taught young children, I'd use those 3 and we would sing like crazy and always leave with a smile. And I think those are the lessons I learned from my mom.